In 2003, director Ridley Scott revisited Alien with a new cut. This incorporated previously removed footage and a complete remaster that breathed new life into his 1979 classic. In October, Alien, the director's cut, received a theatrical release, and soon after it made its way to DVD. But this wasn't just any DVD release. Instead of just the Alien director's cut getting a singular DVD release, Fox Home Video decided to once again release a DVD set, which included the 3 sequels as well. This became the Alien Quadrilogy DVD set. The Alien series had become a trailblazer for the video format with its 20th anniversary DVD set, which came out in 1999. It displayed all the benefits of DVD with the state-of-the-art picture and sound, special features, and a simple but nicely put-together box set that any collector would have been proud to display on their shelf at the time. But in the few short years between the 20th anniversary set and the new Quadrilogy set, the impact of the digital versatile disc had changed drastically. This wasn't the exciting new home viewing technology anymore. This was the standard. By 2003, just about everyone had made the jump to DVD, leaving the VHS in the rear view, with the format being entirely discontinued by 2005. DVD was here to stay, or so it seemed at the time. And with the new technology giving us a new way to view our favorite movies, there also came a high demand for an abundance of bells and whistles to come along with them. And while the 1990 set had impressive supplements for the time, we had reached the point where studios were going all out when it came to giving home viewing audiences behind-the-scenes documentaries, commentaries, deleted scenes, alternate cuts, and all other kinds of special features to make sure these DVDs sold big time. The set was released in December of 2003, just in time for Christmas, so no doubt these were bursting out of holiday stockings and delighting Alien fans all over North America. Today, we're going to take a closer look at the collection and all that it had to offer. So, let's take a trip back to 2003 and revisit the Alien Quadrilogy. It comes in a box set, of course. On the cover, there's a Giger-esque Ouroboros-like symbol, where we can recognize the unmistakable image of an alien head, and inside, the letter A, reminiscent of the hieroglyphic way it appeared in the credits of the original film. On the bottom, it bears the title Alien Quadrilogy. It's a simple but elegant cover. I really like it. On the rim it proclaims 4 films, 9 amazing discs, 1 incredible collection. Again, the title Alien Quadrilogy can be seen, and there's a listing of the 4 films included in the set: Alien, Aliens, Alien 3, and Alien Resurrection. The back cover features an image of a snarling, drooling alien bearing its fangs. So there's a lot going on with the design of the cover slip alone. It was an exciting thing to take a look at this and prepare for what was about to unfold. And I mean that literally. Once you remove the slip, you'll find that, unlike the previous set, which contained individual DVD cases, this is one giant insert that unfolds a good meter or so in length. Maybe one of the more contentious aspects of this release. I was never really crazy about it. For one thing, if you want to take out a certain movie or a certain disc, you're going to have to make sure you have enough room to unravel this beast to get to it. It's kind of a pain in the ass, to be honest. And another thing, the risk of wear and tear is a lot higher. You have to be very delicate if you want it to last for another 2 decades or so. The folds could wear out or even rip if you're rough enough with it. And having these plastic disc holders over a little bit of cardboard is always a risk of having them tear off, so have the glue gun ready just in case. Not sure what they're thinking when they okayed this layout, but it's really the only head-scratcher on an otherwise legendary set. The design itself is really nice. Each section has some imagery and characters from across the series of films. Open it up and we see images of aliens, Ash, Ripley and Parker from the first film, Ripley in her cryotube, Clemens and Bishop 2 from Alien 3, along with an image of the alien in the lead mold. There's the alien queen, Ripley firing her pulse rifle, Ripley in the power loader, Bishop torn in half, and darling little Newt in the middle. There's darling little Call, images of the newborn, and the cloned Ripley from Alien Resurrection. There's Big Chap in an infamous promotional image pose. More of Alien Resurrection, including Johnner, Elgin, Vries, DeStefano, and another image of Call. More of the Alien Queen, her fight with Ripley, Newt's encounter with an alien, Ripley saving her in the hive, and an intense image of Ripley in the middle. There's more of the cast of Alien Resurrection and images of the swimming aliens, as well as Dr. Gettman and the poor bastard who got frozen after the aliens escaped. There's images of Kane, some alien eggs opening up, a facehugger, and a chestburster. There's more images of Ripley from Alien 3, including her Christ-like pose from some of the promotional photos, her tense scene with Dylan, and for some reason, an edited promotional photo from the film. It looks like they swapped out the alien from Alien 3 with an Alien Resurrection alien. For what reason, I couldn't say, but kind of interesting. We get a nice little booklet included. On the cover is the same logo included on the box set. Within is a guide to the movies and to the DVD collection's full experience. This is the introduction. Alien shocked movie audiences with a new and frightening celluloid spin on mankind's future. The first glimpse at this future was presented in the movie's startling theatrical trailer, which opened in silence with the image of an ominous egg-shaped object. It then went on to barrage the unsuspecting audience with a fast-paced and frightening set of monochromatic images accompanied by harsh electric tones. Not a word was spoken. At the trailer's end came the tagline that has become one of the most recognizable in movie history. In space, no one can hear you scream. But in movie theaters everywhere, the screaming could be heard loud and clear. In fact, Alien was enough to send some sci-fi fans, many who'd been newly lured to the genre by the action-adventure slant of Star Trek and Star Wars, or the pristine and orderly future of 2001: A Space Odyssey, running for cover. For this psychological thriller presented an alien unlike any ever seen on the movie screen, and also presented a harsh and grimy future where the good guys didn't always win. But by the time the second film, Aliens, was released, it was clear that the story wasn't simply a tale of evil aliens on the rampage. At its heart was the story of one woman's desperate fight to save mankind from being obliterated by an alien life form which needed human bodies in order to reproduce. It was the story of Ellen Ripley. Along with Jones the Cad, Ripley was the only survivor from the crew of the Nostromo. Although she knew she had thwarted the company's plans for bringing an alien back to Earth for study, she was certain they would thank her after she told them of the alien's horrific nature. But they didn't listen. Stunned when they revoked her flight officer's license, Ripley took the only job she could get, running loaders and forklifts on the space station's cargo docks. Little did she know that by the time she finally returned to Earth, she would have been turned into the thing she feared the most. But let's go back to the beginning, back to 1979. Here we enter the Alien section of the booklet. It includes images of the film's characters, as well as a synopsis. The massive space tug Nostromo glides silently through space. Back from the outer reaches of the galaxy, it's taking its 7 crew members back to Earth. But when the ship's computer receives a distress signal from a nearby planetary system, it rouses the crew from their cryosleep. It isn't until after the Nostromo has landed on a barren planet named LV-426 and 3 crew members have gone out to investigate a huge derelict spacecraft that the signal is deciphered and found to be a warning. But one crew member has already experienced a shocking face-to-face encounter with an alien creature while inspecting an egg-shaped pod. And so the horror begins, a horror which will end the lives of 6 crew members and alter the life of the 7th forever. There's a listing of Alien scene selections, with asterisks indicating which scenes include director's cut footage, and a write-up on the new version of the film. A director's cut redefined, written by director Ridley Scott. In 1979, when Alien was released, I felt that the theatrical cut of the film was the best I could possibly make it. I was very pleased with its pace and structure, and although there were several scenes left on the cutting room floor, I didn't miss any of them. For all intents and purposes, I felt that the original cut of Alien was perfect. I still feel that way. The traditional definition of the term director's cut suggests the restoration of a director's original vision, free of any creative limitations. It suggests that the filmmaker has finally overcome the interferences of heavy-handed studio executives and that the film has been restored to its original, untampered form. Such is not the case with Alien, the director's cut. It's a comparatively different beast. When 20th Century Fox approached me to digitally restore the original 1979 cut of the film, they also suggested fully restoring many of the film's deleted scenes to be reincorporated into a proposed expanded DVD version of the film. Following an exhaustive year-long restoration process, Fox then decided to re-release Alien theatrically. It was their hope that I would see fit to include several of the deleted scenes we had restored in order to give moviegoers incentive to see the film in theaters. Upon viewing the proposed expanded version of the film, I felt that cut was simply too long and the pacing completely thrown off. After all, I cut those extra scenes for a reason back in 1979. However, in the interest of giving the fans a new experience with Alien, I figured there had to be an appropriate middle ground. I chose to go in and recut that proposed long version into a more streamlined and polished alternate version of the film. For marketing purposes, this version is being called the Director's Cut. To film purists everywhere, rest easy. The original 1979 theatrical version isn't going anywhere. It remains my version of choice and is presented fully restored and remastered under my personal supervision alongside the new Director's Cut in this DVD set. See which version you like best. Signed, Ridley Scott. We have the makings for a great DVD presentation here, so let's veer off from the booklet and see what features can be found with the original film, Alien. The feature film is, of course, Disc 1 of the set. The image on the disc itself is of the titular alien, and in the slot beneath, there's an image of the Nostromo's crew awakening from their cryosleep. The menus in this collection are nicely put together, giving you the feeling that you've accessed Weyland-Yutani's secret bioweapons division files. Each film has a focus on a different stage in the alien life cycle. For Alien, the focus is on the egg stage. On this first featured disc, you're given the option of choosing either the original theatrical version of the film or the new 2003 Director's Cut version. You'll be brought to a different menu depending on your choice, but both are more or less the same with a few differences here and there. There's the usual stuff, the play movie option, supplement, scenes, and languages. The Director's Cut version of the film opens with an introduction by Ridley Scott where he shares the same sentiments as expressed in the booklet. This is something new, something different for curious fans, but not necessarily a director's cut in the traditional sense. He's happy with the 1979 version, but hopes the home viewing audience enjoys this new cut. As far as the supplemental material goes, the bulk of extras will be found on the next disc in this set, but of course accompanying this feature disc is a new commentary track. Throughout the feature, you'll hear commentary from director Ridley Scott, writer Dan O'Bannon, executive producer Ronald Shusett, editor Terry Rawlings, along with actors Sigourney Weaver, Tom Skerritt, Veronica Cartwright, Harry Dean Stanton, and John Hurt. There's also an interesting feature that was included with many THX certified home video releases at the time, the THX Optimizer. It's basically a series of tests and adjustments you can make with your own home theater system to best match the intended audio and video presentation of the film. It's a pretty nifty customization feature to have, honestly. Televisions at the time, and to this day, do have their own presets, but they're usually pretty basic, so if you want an intricate, fine-tuned customization, then the THX Optimizer is for you. Within the Director's Cut menu, there's another nice little feature, the Deleted Footage Marker, which is essentially a subtitle option. By activating the Deleted Footage Marker, an on-screen Director's Cut prompt will appear throughout the film to help you identify footage originally deleted from the theatrical release. I think this is a nice feature. There are, of course, some pretty noticeable new additions to the Director's Cut, but maybe not everything added is equally obvious. So this is an appreciated courtesy, and kind of a rarity for Director's Cut DVD viewing, so nicely done. I thought it was a good extra touch that added to the experience. There's the standard stuff you can expect for DVD. There's the scene selections, each with their own little thumbnails for the scenes you want to choose. The Director's Cut has a total of 40 scene selections. There's the language selections, of course. You can choose English in 5.1 DTS digital surround sound, English 5.1 Dolby Digital, French Dolby surround sound, once again an option to play the commentary track, and subtitles in English to choose from. If you're on the theatrical version, some of the differences you'll see are in the supplement options. There's still an option for pretty much the exact same audio commentary track, but they had an effective enough workaround to be able to enjoy the track for either version. It's segmented from different interviews with different contributors. It's not one long track with everybody in a room watching the movie together, so depending on the version you watch, some segments are either removed or edited lightly. While the Director's Cut menu had the Deleted Footage Marker, the theatrical menu actually has an option to view deleted and extended scenes separately. Very much appreciated. So you can peruse this menu and take a closer look at the new footage. Each is titled with a brief description of the scene. Good stuff. So, Disc 1 of this 9-disc set really sets up the expectations of what this collection has to offer. Disc 2 in this set is devoted to the special features for Alien. On the disc itself is Kane, helmeted, and exploring the depths of the derelict, and beneath in the tray image is the unfortunate aftermath, with the facehugger securely attached to its victim. The main attraction on this disc is The Beast Within, The Making of Alien. It's a feature-length documentary, clocking in at nearly 3 hours in length, chronicling the making of the film from its earliest inception to becoming the classic it is today. It's divided into 9 featurettes: Star Beast, developing the story; The Visualists, direction and design; Truckers in Space, casting; Fear of the Unknown, Shepperton Studios, 1978; The Darkest Reaches, Nostromo and Alien Planet; The Eighth Passenger, creature design; Future Tense, editing and music; Outward Bound, visual effects; and A Nightmare Fulfilled, reaction to the film. It's an absolutely stellar documentary. It really is. They put such great work into creating all the documentaries in this set, and it truly shows. They have interviews with just about everyone involved. It's filled to the brim with all the behind-the-scenes information you could possibly want, fascinating insights into the film, amusing anecdotes, and it's an overall love fest for this great classic. There have been other documentaries and other accounts of the making of Alien, but this may be the definitive one of them all, and pretty much an essential viewing for fans of the film. If there's any criticism to be had with the documentary itself, it's that it was presented with the 4:3 square televisions in mind. This is 2003, so it's fair enough not every household had a widescreen TV at the time. In fact, it was still something of a rarity. So I can see why they made this call. Watching it on a widescreen TV today, though, is unfortunate, since any time they cut to footage that's supposed to be in widescreen, it's boxed in entirely, and just doesn't look that good. To Fox Home Video's credit, though, they updated the aspect ratio for the Blu-ray release a few years later. If there's a criticism of the actual layout of the special features on this disc, it's that, strangely, you don't have an option to play the documentary as one big feature. I mean, technically you can. You're able to select navigation options from the main menu and then select the option to play all featurettes, which, in essence, will play the entire documentary. There's also options to view all artwork and all photos on the disc. But why they didn't have an option to just play The Beast Within from the main menu seems like a bizarre choice to me. I think the intention was to have the viewer insert the disc and navigate through one giant special features experience. They had a special order in mind, and I don't mean 937. From the main menu, you have 3 options of pre-production, production, and post-production. Starting with pre-production, the menu's first option is the Star Beast, developing the story featurette. Then you have an option of taking a look at the first draft screenplay by Dan O'Bannon. This comes with a special introduction written by O'Bannon, and it is, of course, a much different beast than what Alien ultimately became. Next is the Visualists featurette, and a gallery of Ridley-grams, original thumbnails and notes. Formerly trained at the Royal College of Art, director Ridley Scott drew an impressive series of 2x3-inch thumbnails, along with detailed notes presented here in their entirety for the first time. So impressed was 20th Century Fox that the studio doubled Scott's budget from $4.2 million to $8.4 million. The Ridley-grams are an integral part of Alien's success, and they're really cool to view, very heavy metal inspired, so it's great to have them all housed on this disc. There's also a selection to view storyboards, not to be confused with the Ridley-grams. These were used for the actual production, and of course are closer to the idea of what ended up in the final film. More galleries include The Art of Alien, Conceptual Art Portfolio. This includes concept art from H.R. Giger, Ron Cobb, Chris Foss, and Jean Mobius Giraud. These were the key figures, and this was the key art in getting the look of Alien just right, with this gallery giving a focus to the ships and costumes that would play into the film. Next is the Truckers in Space casting featurette, and a very cool feature, Sigourney Weaver's screen test. Here we can catch a glimpse of she who would be Ripley, and a few different clips of Sigourney Weaver in her screen tests for the Ripley character. This reel comes with an optional audio track with Ridley Scott's commentary. There's a cast portrait gallery, a photo archive of the film's cast, different headshots of the actors, and group photos for publicity stills. Now we enter the production section of the disc. Here's the featurette Fear of the Unknown, Shepperton Studios, 1976. Production Gallery Photo Archive. These are photos taken by Bob Penn during the production of Alien. Lots of great behind-the-scenes moments are captured here. Photos of the cast and Jonesy on set, preparing for and in between their scenes, and Ridley Scott doing his thing. There's the Continuity Polaroids Photo Archive. As described, because films are often shot out of sequence over long periods of time, Polaroids are taken of sets, prop placement, hair and makeup details, and other on-set minutiae in order to minimize continuity errors when those disparate scenes are cut together. On Alien, the continuity Polaroids were the responsibility of script supervisor Kay Fenton. Lots of good stuff here. Many candid moments and unique perspectives of behind-the-scenes moments. There's The Darkest Reaches, Nostromo and Alien Planet featurette. There's The Sets of Alien, Photo Archive. Pretty self-explanatory. These are photos of the sets. Different angles of the cryosleep pods, the crew corridors, and other moments behind the scenes. There's The Eighth Passenger, creature design featurette. And a very interesting feature here, the Chestburster multi-angle sequence. Multi-angle sequences were pretty common special features for DVDs at this time, where you could press the angle button on your player's remote and see different footage. There's 2 different camera angles to choose from here, and what's probably the best, a composite of both. This has some additional and unseen moments of the iconic Chestburster scene. There's raw production audio for this feature, or a commentary track with Ridley Scott. A very fascinating special feature. Very cool. In the H.R. Giger's Workshop Photo Gallery, there's a closer look at the master at work. As described, artist H.R. Giger at work on the full-size Alien in a custom-built workspace on Stage B at Shepperton Studios. Also seen here is Carlo Rambaldi, who designed the mechanics of the alien's head and jaws. A great look at the making of the alien creature, including some special promotional images. The next section of the disc is post-production. Here we have the future tense, editing and music featurette. There's also a selection of deleted scenes. These differ from the deleted scenes on Disc 1. The following scenes were not restored into the Alien Director's Cut due to Ridley Scott's wishes or because of missing elements lost over the past quarter century. However, the scenes presented here have been completely remastered and re-edited under the director's supervision. Some deleted scenes, originally under consideration for inclusion in the new Director's Cut, are presented with 5.1 surround sound. So, there are 7 deleted scenes to view here. Each selection comes with its own description. You may recall most of these were available on the previous 1999 DVD release of Alien as well, but they look and sound much better here, particularly the considered scenes in 5.1 surround sound. It's interesting to think of the handful that seem to have almost made it into the director's cut. Personally, I think the Ripley soothes Lambert scene would have fit in nicely. As described, Ripley takes an opportunity to smooth over tensions with Lambert. Ridley Scott intended to explore the future's mindset towards casual sex, both overtly. Ripley asks Lambert if she's slept with Ash, and subtly, with a slight undercurrent of sexual tension between Ripley and Lambert. This scene has been re-edited using newly discovered footage. So I guess the scene came close to making it back into the film. Close, but no cigar. Further into post-production, there's the Outward Bound visual effects featurette, a visual effects gallery photo archive showing much of the special visual effects behind the scenes, mostly involving shots of the Nostromo. There's the final featurette of the Beast Within documentary, A Nightmare Fulfilled, reaction to the film. A poster explorations gallery. This gives an idea of what concepts were being played with when it came to the film's poster. It's very interesting to see how they progressed from certain concepts and then, of course, landing on the iconic cracked egg image for the poster we all eventually came to associate with the film. There's a special shoot, promotional photo archive. As described, before the release of a film, a special shoot is conducted with the film's principals to be used for a range of marketing and promotional purposes. Some very nice and memorable images of the hugely talented cast of Alien in photos as their characters. And H.R. Giger, posing with a model of Jones the cat. Appropriately, it's the stuff of nightmares. To cap it all off, there's a photo archive of the premiere. These are from the Egyptian Theater in Hollywood on May 23rd, 1979. The premiere includes displays of the alien eggs, Nostromo ship miniatures, and even a reproduction of the space jockey model. A few images capturing the momentous moment when Alien was first unleashed onto the world. Great stuff. And that's our first 2 discs. Unlike the 1999 Alien Legacy set, it wasn't just the first film that got the deluxe treatment. It's consistent with the entire series when it comes to the supplements. The next section of the Quadrilogy's booklet focuses on aliens, with a synopsis of the next chapter in the saga. After escaping from the Nostromo seconds before its destruction, Ripley floats in space for 57 years. When her escape pod is finally picked up by a deep space salvage team, Ripley is taken to a space station in Earth orbit, only to learn that LV-426 has been colonized. Since the colonists have never encountered any aliens in the 20 years they have been on the planet, Ripley's story of the alien and the fate of her fellow crew members is met with disbelief. But then communication with LV-426 is lost. The company contacts Ripley, promising to reinstate her flight license if she accompanies a team of high-tech colonial marines back to the planet. At first, Ripley refuses, but she ultimately realizes that the only way to banish the nightmare that awaits her every time she closes her eyes is to confront it head-on. There's a gallery of the film's characters, a listing of its scene selections, and a write-up on the special edition version. Over the years, many filmmakers have utilized the video and DVD markets to release alternate versions of their theatrical films. But one of the first, and still one of the most popular, is the classic 1991 special edition of Aliens. Ecstatically embraced by fans of the original theatrical release, James Cameron considers this cut to be the best possible version of the film in the absence of time constraints. In a true labor of love, Cameron painstakingly supervised the transfer of the film, matching the color and texture to the original release. All the restored scenes were taken from the original negative. Almost 20 minutes of footage has been reinstated. From the shocking mention of Ripley's daughter and introduction of Newt's family, to the fleeting yet emotional moment where Ripley and Hicks reveal their first names, this additional footage broadens the narrative scope and enriches the emotional impact of the film. If you have somehow missed seeing this special edition of Aliens, get ready to experience James Cameron's total alien vision. On the feature disc of Aliens, disc 3 of the set, there's an image of the alien queen, and underneath is poor Newt, captured and cocooned in the hive. Once again, when the disc is inserted, the WEYLAND-YUTANI imagery fills the screen, and for the Aliens sections of the collection, the life cycle focus of the alien has now progressed to the facehugger. And once again, we have an option to view either the original theatrical version of the film or the special edition. The special edition selection opens with an introduction by James Cameron where he speaks about this version and makes clear that this extended cut is his preferred cut of the film. The special features are laid out the same way as on the Alien disc. There is an audio commentary track to choose from. This includes commentary from James Cameron, producer Gail Ann Hurd, Alien effects creator Stan Winston, visual effects supervisors Robert Stotak and Dennis Stotak, miniature effects supervisor Pat McClung, and actors Michael Biehn, Lance Henriksen, Jeanette Goldstein, and the Jordan siblings, Carrie Henn and Christopher Henn. As with the Alien commentary, it's presented in segments, and the track is available on both the special edition and theatrical version of the film. For my money, the most entertaining segments have to be the ones featuring cast members Michael Biehn, Lance Henriksen, Jeanette Goldstein, and Bill Paxton. It feels like old army buddies getting together and sharing war stories. Great stuff.
I was really doing those.
Were you standing on a box?
No.
Okay.
We'll say this once and for all.
Wow, look at that.
What are you crying about here, Bill?
Something. I wanted to be cool like Michael.
I was cool in that shot. That was the last time I was cool.
I wanted to be the cool guy. I didn't want to be the guy belly aching.
This movie made you a star, man.
I wanted to be Michael Biehn in this movie.
So did I.
I wanted to be Sigourney.
There's the trusty THX optimizer to be found on the disc as well. There's the deleted footage marker. Once again, a pretty nice subtitle option that points out what was missing from the original 1986 cut of the film. Also nice to have the deleted and extended scenes section that can be accessed in the supplements of the theatrical version's menu. Each is listed with a little description. We have a total of 14 selections here. There's, of course, scene selections, audio and subtitle options, and more goodies that await on the next disc, this disc 4 of the set. We see the image of Ripley and Newt on the disc itself, and beneath the tray is an image of Ripley in the power loader. Here we have Superior Firepower, The Making of Aliens, another absolutely stellar feature-length documentary that accounts the making of this classic film. As with The Beast Within, this documentary is divided into featurettes that can be accessed throughout the disc. 57 years later, continuing the story, building better worlds from concept to construction, preparing for battle, casting and characterization, This Time It's War, Pinewood Studios, 1985, The Risk Always Lives, Weapons and Action, Bug Hunt, Creature Design, Beauty and the Bitch, Power Loader vs. Queen Alien, Two Orphans, Sigourney Weaver and Carrie Henn, The Final Countdown, Music, Editing and Sound, The Power of Real Tech, Visual Effects, and Aliens Unleashed, Reaction to the Film. It's an epic making-of documentary for an epic film. The original Alien had its own detailed making-ofs before, so The Beast Within was just gravy. But here, we finally have a fully fledged, aliens-focused, behind-the-scenes story. With all the interviews you could possibly ask for, all the peeks behind the curtain with lots of on-set footage, and a revealing unfolding of all the trials and tribulations the production faced, this is truly a gift for fans of the film. There's the newly produced interviews and vintage interviews from its original electronic press kit, and tons of unseen footage. It's incredible. Yet another triumph for this DVD set. You can navigate through the full Alien supplemental experience on the disc, divided into pre-production, production, and post-production. In production, there's the 57 years later continuing the story featurette and the original treatment by James Cameron. This is the blueprint for Aliens that Cameron presented to producers and ultimately secured him for the job to bring us the sequel. It has a lot of the details and characters that would eventually make it into the full screenplay. There's the Building Better Worlds from Concept to Construction featurette, and The Art of Aliens conceptual art portfolio. This contains artwork by Ron Cobb, Sid Mead, and James Cameron, featuring concepts of Gateway Station, the LV-426 colony, vehicles and weapons, and the aliens that would be developed for the film. We also have a multi-angle pre-visualization Videomatic feature. This has video of early outlines of how certain scenes would appear in the film. Essentially live-action storyboards using models and crude miniature sets. It's actually pretty amazing how close these Videomatics resemble what appeared in the final film. Nowadays, these pre-visuals would obviously be done using CGI, but there's a real charm to seeing the models assembled together to give an idea of how all these shots would work. There is also an optional audio track featuring commentary by Pat McClung. There's the Preparing for Battle Casting and Characters featurette, and a cast portrait photo archive. This contains special shoots of the cast and how they appear in the film. In the production section of the disc, there's the featurette This Time It's War, Pinewood Studios, 1985, and a production gallery photo archive. These photos are by Bob Penn, who also took the production photos for the original film. It features various behind-the-scenes photos, which are sectioned into different scenes from the film. There's also a gallery of continuity Polaroids. These are always fun, not just serving their purpose for preserving continuity, but also capturing some fun moments on set. These pictures were taken by script supervisor Diana Dill. In the age before digital cameras and smartphones, the Polaroid camera was a very useful tool that allowed its user to take a picture and develop it instantly. How about that? Let me get an idea of the age of my viewers at this point. Comment below if you've ever used a Polaroid or any other type of instant camera. There's The Risk Always Lives, Weapons and Action featurette, and a photo archive of weapons and vehicles. We get an early look at the armor, costume design for the film, and of course the iconic weapons featured in the film. There's also some nice images of the full-size APC taken at the outside stages of Pinewood Studios, as well as the full-size power loader. We have the featurettes Bug Hunt Creature Design, Beauty and the Bitch, Power Loader vs. Queen Alien, and a photo archive from Stan Winston's workshop. This is a great selection of the legendary team behind the scenes working on all of the creature effects featured in the film, models, costumes, and the construction of the 14-foot-tall alien queen. There's the featurette Two Orphans, Sigourney Weaver and Carrie Henn to finish off the production section, and in the post-production section there's further selections of featurettes, including The Final Countdown, Music, Editing, and Sound, The Power of Real Tech, Visual Effects, and a Visual Effects Gallery photo archive. This gallery features many of the models used for the film, with a focus on the glorious and highly detailed Sulaco model. The final featurette is Aliens Unleashed, Reaction to the Film, and a final photo gallery, Film Finish, and Release. This includes some images of James Horner, along with James Cameron and Gale Ann Hurd, overviewing the musical score. There's some images of the film's premiere, in which the cast and crew appears in the highest of Miami Vice fashions. And there's the special shoots, featuring some great images of the entire cast, as well as Ripley in her bug stoppers, taking care of Newt, and of course, Jones the cat. And that's the end of the Aliens discs. Now we embark on a fascinating journey into Alien 3. As per the booklet, Ripley is once again awakened from cryosleep to discover all is not as it should be. Not only is she no longer on the ship that carried Newt, Hicks, and her away from LV-426, she is also once again the only survivor in the ship's escape pod. But she is not alone for long. She has crash-landed on Furina 161, a bleak planet inhabited by former inmates of a maximum security work correctional facility. When she begins to suspect that an alien may have also been a passenger on her escape pod, Ripley is shocked to discover the inmates possess no advanced technology or modern weapons. Yet the biggest shock is yet to come, for the Alien Queen's reaction towards her has Ripley fearing that an old terror has just taken on an even more frightening new dimension. As previously, the booklet features images of the film's key characters and scene selections with asterisks indicating where the new footage can be found. While commonly referred to as the assembly cut, the write-up here names it the special edition. Following its troubled production and controversial release, Alien 3 slowly became something of a curiosity among serious enthusiasts of the Alien series. Not only would its first-time director David Fincher go on to become one of Hollywood's most sought-after filmmakers, but the film itself would generate quite a mystique, thanks to heated rumors of creative interference, lost scenes, and even a completely different cut of the film that supposedly restored Fincher's original vision of what many believed to be a seriously compromised work. Rumor control, here are the facts. There is no wondrous, lost director's cut of Alien 3. It doesn't exist. Indeed, for such a dream to be realized, Fincher would have to be allowed to remake the film from scratch with complete creative control. What does exist is something perhaps equally fascinating. For the first time, fans can now experience a fully restored and remastered presentation of the 1991 assembly cut of Alien 3. With a running time increased by 30 minutes, this special edition contains several never-before-seen sequences that offer fascinating insights into the film's difficult editing process. This cut also reveals a combination of vintage, previously unreleased optical effects shots and several newly completed digital effects necessary to seamlessly integrate new footage into the body of the film. The Alien 3 Special Edition offers fans a unique chance to witness the lost work of a remarkable director. Disc 5 of the Quadrilogy set is the Alien 3 feature disc with an image of Ripley on the disc itself and beneath an image of a prisoner with the barcode tattoo. Insert the disc and the WEYLAND-YUTANI screen configures to the chestburster stage of the Alien life cycle, and presenting a choice between the special edition and theatrical release. At the time, after years and years of hearing about all the missing footage, of course, I and so many others immediately jumped to that special edition version. It may not be much of a surprise, but at this point in the set, the tradition of the director introducing the new cut has been broken. David Fincher had nothing to do with this cut or any of the documentaries. We do, however, get a text introduction to the assembly cut version informing the viewer of what they're about to witness. Mainly a little bit of a heads up regarding some of the audio, which can be noticeably lesser quality in the newly added scenes. Despite that tiny issue, which would actually be fixed later on with the Blu-ray release, this was a hugely exciting moment in my life as an Alien fan to finally see this new version of Alien 3. It didn't disappoint, and I suppose is worth going into further detail with in another video. But when we get to the supplements, we naturally have another option to enable that deleted footage marker, which I'm sure you can guess is working overtime on this version. It's not just a handful of deleted scenes here and there, as with the previous special editions. There's new and alternate footage to be found almost everywhere. If you haven't happened to watch Alien 3 obsessively and can spot every new element immediately, then this is an especially invaluable feature if you are curious to know exactly what was added. Once again, we have an audio commentary track in the supplements. Needless to say, no David Fincher, but a very insightful and worthwhile track. This includes cinematographer Alex Thompson, editor Terry Rawlings, alien effects designers Alec Gillis and Tom Woodruff Jr., visual effects producer Richard Edlund, and actors Paul McGann and Lance Henriksen. We have the usual stuff, the THX optimizer, we have scene selections, language selections, and if you're curious enough to view only the deleted footage, we have another submenu for that by selecting the theatrical version menu on the disc. Each with titles and descriptions, making up for a total of 26 separate selections. Arriving at disc 6 in the set, we have all the Alien 3 extra features. On the disc, an image of Ripley and Dylan being pursued by the alien, and underneath, Dylan being attacked in his final stand against the creature. Here we have the Making of Alien 3 documentary. It's divided into featurettes, development, concluding the story, Tales of the Wooden Planet, Vincent Ward's vision, pre-production, Part 3 referring to Alien 3 as the third part of the series, Xenoerotic, H.R. Giger's redesign, production, Part 1, referring to it as featurette 1 of 3 production featurettes, Adaptive Organism, Creature Design, production Part 2, production Part 3, Optical Fury, Visual Effects, Music, Editing and Sound, and Post-Mortem, Reaction to the Film. They certainly didn't skimp this time around. Alien 3 gets the same detail and attention in its documentary as the previous films. And this is an in-depth look at the production that clocks in at nearly 3 hours. Whether you love or hate the film, it is a fascinating watch. They explore the earlier concepts of the sequel, such as Vincent Ward's script involving the wooden planet inhabited by monks who have rejected technology. The shaky production without a final script is explored. The final reaction to the film, which is hardly the love fest that the first two got, is also given attention. It's revealing, it's candid, and I'd say it doesn't hold back, but actually, unfortunately, it does. When it comes to this particular DVD release, at least. You see, Fox wasn't exactly crazy about some of the interviews, making reference to studio interference and generally regarding the movie as a failure, so they did some light editing, to put it mildly. Irony of ironies, the studio interfered with the telling of the making of a film where the studio famously interfered. References that explicitly put the blame on Fox are removed, and even the titles of the documentary itself, including some featurettes, are altered to shy away from anything too disparaging. So, if you thought the titling was a little off on those featurettes, there's actually good enough reason for that. As it appears in this set, the title of the documentary is simply The Making of Alien 3, though the original title was meant to be Wreckage and Rage, The Making of Alien 3. This is a reference to a passage in Elliot Goldenthal's score for the film titled Wreckage and Rape. The original title of pre-production, Part 3, was Stasis Interrupted, Fincher's Vision. The original title of production, Part 1, was The Color of Blood, Pinewood Studios, 1991. The original title of production, Part 2, was The Downward Spiral, Creative Differences. The original title of production Part 3 was Where the Sun Burns Cold, Fox Studios, LA, 1992, and the original title of music editing and sound was Requiem for a Scream, music editing and sound. A good 20 minutes or so was ultimately cut out, never to be seen for years. Finally, when the Alien Anthology Blu-ray set was released, the documentary came included in its uncut form. All the references to studio interference were restored, including a now famous clip of David Fincher venting his frustration.
It's amazing to me that Fox is the #1 studio in the country because they're all such a bunch of morons.
Needless to say, if you can, watch the Blu-ray version. It's superior, it's uncut, it's the full story. But either way, it's a very engaging journey through one of the most turbulent, high-profile productions in film history. It's well worth watching, regardless of your opinion on the actual film. As with the previous supplemental discs, you can navigate through a stream of special features divided into 3 different production phases. Development, concluding the story, and Tales of the Wooden Planet, Vincent Ward's Vision featurettes. The Art of Alyssane, conceptual art portfolio. This includes the concepts for Vincent Ward's script, 3 different categories to view here. The EEV, Alyssane, the Wooden Planet, illustrations of the various wooden structures within the artificial planet, and a design for the glass furnace operated by the monks. The Alien, with conceptual designs by Mike Worrell, reflecting the variety of creative directions that the design team for Alien 3 explored. The various permutations include an alien horse hybrid, an alien sheep, and an alien human infant. There's the pre-production Part 3 featurette, a selection of storyboards, and a photo archive. You can view all or view according to specific scenes. There's actually quite a few to choose from here. These include various moments that actually ended up being realized quite faithfully in the final film. Not all, but quite a few. So while the script may have had its share of problems during the production, it seems that at least they were pretty on point with the storyboards. There's the Art of Fiorina, conceptual art portfolio. This has concept art showing the exteriors and interiors of the prison planet. Also included are images of the scrapped concept of the alien developing a nest within. There's the Production Part 1 featurette, a production gallery, photo archive, various photos throughout the production, including the memorable moments of Sigourney Weaver getting her head shaved, moments with Fincher on set, and the generally interesting stuff you'd expect to see in these types of behind-the-scenes photo galleries. Despite the production problems, it looked like there were plenty of fun moments off-screen. One pretty interesting feature we have here is a selection named Furnace Construction Time-Lapse Sequence. Self-explanatory enough. This is a 5-minute video that is time-lapsed footage of the construction of the furnace sets. Pretty amazing work here. This was a massive set. Seeing it developing bit by bit over the course of this video is really interesting. There's the Adaptive Organism Creature Design featurette, and another photo archive, ADI's Workshop. Here we see the masters at work putting together all the practical effects together for the film, such as the damaged bishop prop, the royal facehugger, which would barely be seen in the film, the construction of the Bambi Burster, including the failed concept of dressing up a dog in an alien costume, and various other cool alien suit and model stuff. These photos are always a highlight for me, and Alien 3's supplemental disc is especially abundant with these. There's a really cool multi-angle vignette, the EEV Bioscan. This shows the effects ADI created for the scene in which Ripley discovers she's pregnant with the alien queen. The 5 different angles include skin surface, based on a cast of Sigourney Weaver's chest, musculature, organs, skeletons, and the final shot. There's also the option to view all 5 at once. The result is something that looks really close to CGI. In fact, if I were told the bioscan effect had been early CGI work, I'd probably believe it. But no, this is all ADI magic. This vignette also has an alternate audio track option to hear commentary from Alec Gillis. We have the Production Part 2 and Production Part 3 featurettes, Optical Fury, Visual Effects, and Music Editing and Sound featurettes. Another photo archive, Visual Effects Gallery. This shows the creation of the rod puppet that would be used prominently in the film, and other behind-the-scenes looks at Alien 3's special visual effects. There's the Post-Mortem Reaction to the Film featurette, and finally the Special Shoot Promotional Photo Archive Gallery. More of Sigourney Weaver posing as Ellen Ripley in her new haircut. Simple enough promotional images, but interestingly enough, this was memorable enough to actually make its way into many posters and video covers for the film. And despite the rocky production, the gang is all here at the premiere of the film, as is a life-size xenomorph model. And thus concludes the Alien 3 Special Features disc. The final film in the collection, and at least up to this set's release, the most recent film in the series, is Alien Resurrection. The booklet provides a synopsis. 200 years have passed since Ripley made the ultimate sacrifice on Fiorina 161. Over those intervening years, and after 7 horrific failures, scientists have finally managed to clone a perfect replica of Ripley. A replica which includes the alien queen growing inside her at the time of her death. And since the Ripley clone is so perfect, the scientists decide to keep her alive for study as well. But the new breed of alien born from Ripley's queen is far more clever than its predecessors. An unfortunate fact the scientists don't realize until after the ragtag crew of the Betty arrives with additional nourishment for the aliens in the form of a hijacked crew of humans. As before, we have images of the film's characters, categorized by characters found on the Auriga and characters of the Betty's crew. There's the scene selections, as with the previous films, and once more a write-up on the special edition version. Director Jean-Pierre Jeunet is pleased with his 1997 theatrical cut of Alien Resurrection. He has no burning desire to rework the film despite the existence of several deleted scenes. So it is with great generosity that he indulges Alien fans with the creation of an expanded version of his film. For years, fans have discussed the supposed existence of lost sequences, including a final battle taking place on Earth. Although early drafts of Joss Whedon's script contained several additional scenes, many of those sequences were never filmed. The Alien Resurrection Special Edition includes every available scene actually filmed, including a never-before-seen alternate Earthbound ending, which proves to be more intimate than bombastic. However, viewers are treated to changes in the special edition immediately. An extremely complicated and cost-prohibitive alternate opening, originally abandoned before visual effects could be completed in 1997, has been recreated using the original storyboards, rough pre-visualizations, and the original live-action plate shot by Genet. By no means a director's cut, the Alien Resurrection Special Edition serves as an alternate expanded cut of the film for fans to enjoy. Now we have Disc 7. There's an image of Call on the disc itself, and beneath an image of the failed clones. The disc loads up, and we now have reached the warrior stage of the Alien life cycle. By this point, you know the drill. You get an option to pick the special edition or the theatrical version of the film. Each will bring you to a slightly different menu. We have the scene selections, audio selections, THX optimizer, special edition footage marker, a separate menu to view the deleted and extended scenes on their own. There's 10 total separate selections here. There's an audio commentary track. This features director Jean-Pierre Genet, editor Hervé Schneid, Alien Effects creator Alec Gillis and Tom Woodruff Jr., visual effects supervisor Pytoff, conceptual artist Sylvian Despretz, and actors Ron Perlman, Dominique Pinon, and Leyland Orser. Disc 9 is Alien Resurrection's special features. We see Christie and Vries striking a pose, and beneath there's an image of Dr. Gettman getting lovey-dovey with an alien test subject. The disc contains the documentary One Step Beyond, the making of Alien Resurrection. This is another feature-length, in-depth look at the making of the film. This also nears 3 hours in length. It's also divided into featurettes. From the Ashes, Reviving the Story, French Twist, Direction and Design, Under the Skin, Casting and Characterization, Death from Below, Fox Studios, Los Angeles, 1996, In the Zone, The Basketball Scene, Unnatural Mutation, Creature Design, Genetic Composition, Music, Virtual Aliens, Computer-Generated Imagery, A Matter of Scale, Miniature Photography, and Critical Juncture, Reaction to the Film. Of the 4 original movies, Alien Resurrection is probably my least favorite, and I'm sure I'm not alone in that, but I'm glad they gave this documentary the same treatment as the others. I think that's fair. Maybe the story of its production is the least interesting. It didn't emerge as a beloved classic like the first two, and it wasn't as dramatic as Alien 3's production, but there's good stuff here. When I watch it, it even has me appreciating the movie a little more. I loved seeing behind the scenes of the underwater sequence, which is absolutely insane, and if nothing else grabs your interest in this documentary, there's the iconic onset moment where Sigourney Weaver actually makes that behind-the-back basketball shot. Fucking legend. In the lineup of supplemental navigation, we begin with From the Ashes, featurette. There's the first draft screenplay by Joss Whedon. This has a number of differences from what actually ended up in the film, and is pretty interesting. There's the French Twist and Under the Skin, featurettes. Test footage, creatures and costumes. Creature test footage shot at Amalgamated Dynamics. This includes various tests with different stages of the alien life cycle in addition to tests for some of the more extreme human kills in the film. This comes with optional commentary by Alec Gillis. And a series of hair, makeup, costume, and movement tests with actress Sigourney Weaver for her role as Ripley Clone 8. There's the Mark Caro portfolio, Character Designs Image Gallery. As per the description on the disc, Caro worked as the design supervisor for Alien Resurrection and lent the film his unique visual talents and perspective. Included here are Caro's designs for many of the film's major characters, designs which helped shape the film's casting process. There's the Art of Resurrection Conceptual Art Gallery, tons of concept art here. Ship designs, clone designs, alien designs, title designs, prop designs, costume designs, and Earth designs for the alternate ending. There's a storyboards archival photo gallery, a selection of storyboard art for some of the film's key scenes. Lots of good stuff if you happen to be interested in viewing these pieces and comparing them to how they actually appear in the final film. That's always interesting to me, so I love that they included these, just as they did for Alien and Alien 3. And here's a neat vignette they included, pre-visualizations, multi-angle rehearsals. As per the description on the disc, prior to the commencement of principal photography on Alien Resurrection, director Jean-Pierre Genet oversaw the creation of detailed storyboards that plotted the action for the film. Genet also personally filmed shot-by-shot video rehearsals of crucial sequences in the film. So here you can compare the storyboard, the video rehearsal from Genet, and the scene from the final film. 3 different angles and an option to view all at once, which is usually my preference, and there's 2 different audio tracks to choose from. The audio from the rehearsal and the audio from the final film. Good stuff. We have the Death from Below and In the Zone featurettes, a production gallery photo archive. This gallery has all the behind-the-scenes goodies and interesting photos from the film's production. There's the Unnatural Mutation featurette and ADI's Workshop photo archive. For the last 2 movies, the ADI stuff always ends up my favorite. They always take great behind-the-scenes images, and of course I love seeing all the creature effects and all the efforts that went into them. Lots of great stuff here. The failed clones, the various alien life cycle elements, and the creation of the newborn. We have the Genetic Composition, Virtual Aliens, and A Matter of Scale featurettes, Visual Effects Gallery, a photo archive of the models, miniatures, and green screen effects used throughout the film. There's the Critical Juncture featurette, and finally another special shoot, promotional photo archive. Once again, it's Sigourney Weaver doing what she does best, posing like a total badass. And we have other members of the cast as well, in special poses. My favorite of them all might actually have to be these images of Leyland Orser as Purvis. He's posing with that little rod that he waves around for like 2 seconds in the movie, but he's posing as if it's some incredible weapon or something. It's just very amusing to me. And that's the Alien Resurrection Special Features disc. But if you thought that was all this set had to offer, you are mistaken, because there's a 9th disc, which contains even more bonus material spanning across all 4 films. On this disc, we have an image of a snarling xenomorph, and beneath is Sublevel 2 from Aliens. And as the disc opens, we finally arrive at the final stage in the Alien life cycle for this set, the Alien Queen. And here we have all the extra stuff that just couldn't fit anywhere else. On the main menu, we have menus for the 4 films in the series. By selecting Alien, we're brought to a submenu with additional Alien special features. There's Alien Evolution. This is a made-for-TV documentary from 2001 that touches on all films in the series. However, this version is edited to focus solely on the 1979 film. With that in mind, it runs about an hour in length, goes through a lot of the story of the making of the film, and features cast and crew interviews. While this is a compromised version, I'd say the Alien segments available here pale a little bit in comparison with the brand spanking new Beast Within documentary made for this set. But still a great watch with some groovy background imagery. We also get Experience in Terror, promotional featurette 79. This is a vintage featurette from 1979 talking about the making of the film, a cool trip back to the past. There's Ridley Scott Q&A. This is footage taken at the Egyptian Theater in 2001. You may recall this is the exact same theater where the film premiered back in 1979. There's some footage of the screening and some audience reactions, and Ridley Scott then takes the stage to answer some questions. A pretty good and entertaining Q&A. I can only imagine how many times Ridley Scott has been asked to speak about the film, and he always does so with enthusiasm and in a way that is very entertaining. Also on this disc is a Laserdisc archive. As per the description, take a trip down memory lane and experience an artifact of optical video history. Ridley Scott's special widescreen collector's edition Laserdisc of Alien. The value-added features and supplements of this 1992 Laserdisc release are faithfully recreated in their entirety. The bonus materials section of the Alien Laserdisc was divided into linear chapter stops, as was the standard for the format. Here you have the option to navigate the material sequentially or access individual sections by selecting a chapter number from the table of contents. It's pretty incredible that they were able to house the entire selection of special features from the Laserdisc, and just goes to show the advances in home video releases in a span of 10 years. This stuff used to be the whole experience of the disc. Now it's a teeny tiny aspect of a much larger set of features. It's fascinating to go through, not just for novelty's sake, but there is some stuff here that you can't see anywhere else. This includes an interview with Ridley Scott regarding the infamously cut Cocoon sequence, and said sequence is presented in its raw format, which is slightly different from how it appears in the director's cut. And there's some really interesting behind-the-scenes footage that may have been briefly featured in some of the documentaries on the making of the film, but clearly edited down for them and shown in their entirety here. Finally, we have a selection of Alien trailers and TV spots. We have the teaser, the subject of the booklet introduction's Loving Reminiscence, theatrical trailer, and 2 TV spots, Egg and Now Playing. The Alien submenu also includes a Laserdisc archive. This is presented the same way as with Alien. There's the option to take on the full Laserdisc experience and sequentially navigate through the features or to access a table of contents with chapter selections. There's a lot of the same art and photos that can be found in better quality elsewhere on the set, but there's some interesting write-ups here to take a look at. And there's definitely some things that eagle-eyed DVD enthusiasts will recognize as not being available to view elsewhere. Capping off the Alien section of this disc is the teaser trailer, theatrical trailer, domestic trailer, international trailer, and TV spot now playing. The Alien 3 submenu includes an advanced featurette. It seems to be just a mini 2.5-minute version of the Making of Alien 3 feature that was released on video back in 1992. Nothing too spectacular. I'm curious as to why they didn't include the full feature here, since it was included on Alien 3's 1999 DVD release. We have 5 trailers, A, B, C, D, and E, and we have 7 TV spots, Face-to-Face, 3 Times, Theaters Everywhere, Review, 3, A True Knockout, and Galaxy Review. Not all that much on the Alien Resurrection submenu. Theatrical teaser, theatrical trailer, TV spot now playing, TV spot Scream, TV spot host, and TV spot Scream cutdown. Back to the main menu, there's another featurette titled Bob Burns' Alien Collection. This runs at about 25 minutes in length and showcases the prized possessions of alien collector Bob Burns. Really cool stuff, including props and miniatures actually used for the movies, a collection any Alien fan would be envious of. This seems like it may have been intended to be included in one or more of the documentaries featured throughout the other discs on this set, but was made available as a separate featurette here. Full title is Aliens in the Basement, The Bob Burns Collection. It's a good watch, very entertaining, though you may find yourself seething with jealousy. There's the Dark Horse Still Gallery. As per the disc description, Dark Horse Comics began publishing Aliens comic books in 1988. All of the stories take place after the events in the second film and explore the rich universe visualized in the movies. The comics represent an amazing opportunity to go beyond the events in the Aliens movies and explore dozens of new stories featuring one of the most chilling species to grace the science fiction genre. Here we have a simple but much appreciated gallery of comic covers and descriptions of these stories. It's a good gateway to tantalize any Alien fans who may love the movies but may not have taken the dive into the comics. With this feature and its descriptions, there may have been enough to inspire a new generation of fans to experience what Dark Horse had to offer. Finally, there's a DVD-ROM feature for those who had DVD drives on their computers. Whether I could get this feature to work today, I have no idea, so there's not much to say here, but the booklet says it features a script-to-screen comparison, which would have been nice to see. I honestly can't remember ever accessing this feature at the time, or if it's archived anywhere, but according to this 2003 review on the Digital Bits, the comparisons were made available for all 4 films, and the DVD-ROM feature also included web links, I can assume, to the official Alien website. And there we have it. That is the Alien Quadrilogy DVD set. It's a thing of beauty. Obviously, I'm a huge fan. I have this whole channel devoted to Alien, but if I can try to be as unbiased as possible, this really is one of the best DVD sets ever put together. Especially when it comes to a popular franchise. Other releases barely come close. Where else could you find the opportunity to view both the painstakingly remastered versions of classics, plus all new extended versions, plus 3-hour documentaries devoted to each individual movie, plus mountains of other special features, all in one set? The Quadrilogy was a miracle of a DVD release, and it truly took advantage of all the possibilities that could be explored with the home video format at the time. Fox really took DVD a step beyond, and this collection will always have a special place in my heart. I have tiny complaints here and there about the layout of the set itself, but it's hardly an issue in the overall scheme of things. And if you happen to be opposed to the big fold-out set and wanted something a little more accessible, the following year Fox actually released each film individually. You could purchase separate collector's edition DVD sets of Alien, Aliens, Alien 3, and Alien Resurrection, which were 2-disc sets each and contained the same special features as found on this set. However, that 9th disc is exclusive to the Quadrilogy collection. Now, if you wanted something really impractical, but exceedingly cool, the following year also saw the release of a special Quadrilogy gift set with a special Alien head replica that could hold all the discs. This was just in time to celebrate the first film's 25th anniversary, but was exclusive to Japan, unfortunately, though I believe it was also available in the UK sometime down the road as well. It always bummed me out that this was never available in North America. I think we missed out on something really cool. I would have loved to have owned something like this in my collection, but just never had the opportunity. But then, when putting this video together, I realized it's not 2003 anymore. We're in the 2020s now, and you can get anything on eBay with 2 clicks. So, your old pal Alien Theory decided to get himself a little Christmas present this year, and I finally had the chance to see what this special collector's edition Alien Head was all about. Straight from Japan and to my door arrived a huge box filled with the Xenomorph goodness. This is a brand new, unopened set. As you can see, it cost me quite a bit of yen. We open it up and see the packaging here. We see the Xenomorph head safely secured in the styrofoam casing, wrapped in plastic. Looks like there's a little write-up secured to it as well. The DVD box set itself is secured into its own little area as well, and there's even a little bonus figure that comes packaged along with everything else. Pretty exciting. So let's take a look at this bad boy. There is an insert, needless to say, all in Japanese. I tried my best to translate it on my phone, but it doesn't seem to be anything especially interesting. Seems like it's mostly health and safety advisories and generally what comes with this set, I guess. I've taken it out, and first things first, we have the box set itself. You may notice right away it's a slight bit smaller than the North American set. I'm kind of blown away. It's like seeing the set for the first time. I've been so used to my old, worn-out set that to see this version, all brand spanking new, is really something. There's an attachment on the back outlining all the special features, and we finally open it up, we can spot a few differences. There's of course the same Quadrilogy logo, but this time around we have the text of the 25th anniversary. Inside, there's quite a few inserts. These are advertisements for some Alien swag, and even an ad for Alien vs. Predator, which at the time of this set's release was a mere few months away from hitting theaters. There's the booklet as well, pretty much exactly the same as the North American set and is in English only, but there's also an insert with a little guide on navigating the special features of the DVD set in Japanese. The thinner trimmer set doesn't fold out. Instead, there's a series of green semi-translucent trays holding the discs, certainly making each disc more accessible. But you know what? Maybe that huge fold-out set had a little more charm than I gave it credit for. It feels lesser here, with, of course, less images gracing the packaging and feeling not quite as epic. Inserting the discs themselves into a multi-region player, you'll see that the menu design is basically the same, with some navigational differences here and there, but overall an identical concept. The movies themselves are presented in English with Japanese subtitles, so no huge noticeable differences here. The big attraction, I'm sure you'll agree, is the alien head model itself. This is a beautiful recreation of the visage of one of cinema's most recognizable monsters. This is no doubt worth shelling out the extra bucks for, this set, even 20 years later. And this isn't some cheap package statue that you'd see included with a lot of special limited editions at the time. This is the real deal. The detail is incredible, the quality is high, and I was actually taken aback by just how heavy this thing really is. So this is high-grade stuff we're dealing with here. I have to say, I'm really impressed. And of course, you can open up the dome on the alien skull to reveal a compartment where the discs can be housed. They all fit in nicely and snugly, and this makes it a very attractive item for any collector's shelf. Last but not least, we have the little figure included. It's a smaller version of the Xenomorph, almost looking like a large Lego version of the alien. It's a nice addition, the detail is good, and does it? Yes, it glows in the dark. How about that? I have to say, I'm very happy with getting this special collector's edition, including the alien head. A small void within my heart has been filled. But with or without these extra bells and whistles, the Quadrilogy remains as impressive as ever. Yes, the Blu-ray made some serious improvements and gave us even more on an already packed set, but at the time there was nothing quite like this. Arguably, we'll never see anything quite like it ever again. Physical media just isn't what it used to be. I'd love to see a deluxe 4K collection of the film sometime down the road, but I won't hold my breath for an abundance of anything newly produced or any special packaging. I think those days might be done, though I'd love to be proved wrong. Either way, I'm happy with the set as is, I'm happy with this new addition to my Alien collection, and this has ended up being a very Merry Christmas for me. And I hope you've had a good holiday season yourself. I hope you got some nice gifts, were able to spend time with loved ones, and most importantly, stayed safe and healthy. If you got anything alien-related for this Christmas, I'd love to know, so please comment below if you did. And, as always, I'd like to thank you very much for watching today. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to give it a like, and be sure to subscribe for all the latest videos from the channel. A very special thanks goes out to Alyssane, Grizz4756, Ronni Jensen, and XenoShadowMorph, Queen Tiers of the Patreon Hive. Thank you to Gregory Ford and John Griggs, the Hive's Praetorians. A very special thanks goes out to Lady Anne in the Ellen Ripley tier of Excellence. And in the role of WEYLAND YUTANI executives, NanashiFx and Sergei Kolobashkin. If you'd like to join the Hive and support the channel, check out my Patreon page for exclusive posts and contests. In the meantime, you can catch up with Alien Theory over social media. Follow @alien_theory on Twitter and @alientheoryyt on Facebook and Instagram for more. And until next time, this is Alien Theory, signing off.